I will say from my vantage point, one of the issues that we're gonna have to get past is it's an election year. It's a reality of what we have. The reason I say that is, as much as I am pushing this issue, I'm also pushing child protection, I'm pushing a number of other issues. But the reason I bring this up is because we have some groups out there that aren't necessarily, we can get very siloed here, but I've got some groups out there that, for example, are pushing broadband and LGA at the same time. And they're doing it in such a way that they're putting my constituents in a very difficult position. When they call me in, mayors call me in and they say, hey, we need you guys at 100 million in broadband. And I say, okay, great, but what if I have to vote between broadband and LGA? Oh, you might have to do that? I said, well, yeah. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to rise above that. We have to be willing to step out on a limb, whether it's telecom reform, whether it's a number. Sometimes I envy you folks for being at 6 billion, or I'm at 100 million, wherever you are.
Wow, done, we're done, we're retired.
Because from my vantage point, I'm bringing people along. I have folks that, while they believe in broadband, they also really believe in the fact that it's taxpayer dollars and we have to do it as efficiently as possible. And so they're coming along. So I liken them to squirrels. I can't do any big movements or I'll scare them away, but they're coming. And I think
that is in the land and broadband blog now. I like it about squirrels.
but we're coming.
I will concur with you though. That'll give you some democratic cover on it.
And so we're going to have to get there. And Danny, you've done a wonderful job. But I also know that you're gonna come under more scrutiny. Not you personally, but the office, because as grant programs go, recipients and non-recipients are like my children. Why didn't I? And so we're gonna have to make sure that we provide you cover, and the best way to do that will be the sunshine, transparency. And so all of these things are gonna have to come out. But I think that we, or whatever coalition we can put together, we're gonna have to be willing to hold together, because there's gonna come a time when we're going to test the cohesiveness of this issue. There's a lot of great stuff here. The opportunity that we have in front of us is people are talking about it. People that I did not think would talk about this issue are now coming to me and saying, you know what, I need you to come down to my district and talk to people because my constituents are worried. That's a good sign. That's fantastic.
You might think that your time isn't always well spent as a task force, but I actually do read these task force reports and find them very useful and helpful. So I want to thank you for putting these together, because it is good information. And the work that Diana has done, she's always an excellent resource for this broadband work. And I certainly commit to working with Ron and the governor's office and Senator Schmidt on these broadband issues. I'm going to probably be pushing for a higher number than what the House is going to come up with. I'm sure the Democrats will be, because that's just the way it works. But we'll do what we can do, and I think we all agree that the investment is worth it, needs to be done, and I'll do whatever I can to move the ball forward.
Can I ask a quick
Yeah.
before I get too far? Allison, and I know you've met, you come to House Met. You're the lead on the broadband. Are you also going to be leading the reform, the telecom reform?
That's a good question. In the past, so I have been for quite a while our lead on broadband. In the past, I have not covered telecom because commerce doesn't fall under my area. But we are talking a little bit internally about whether I should be working on telecom, because they're obviously interrelated issues. So.
And if you
that's
do,
to be determined.
which I would vote for, but one thing that would help us is if you get a message over to the AG's office to just stand down. Let us work through these issues. I know what I'm asking. You don't have to respond to that. But the reason I say that is we have a large group that has compromised, and that's got to mean something. And right now, do what you can do, and I know what I'm asking, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Well,
Don't answer. I'm really not asking for an answer.
Yeah, I will say that's much more difficult than it sounds.
I understand.
But I will say that, for an issue that I am aware of, not because I work on it, and just kind of hearing things, that, you know, Andy and the other providers and interested legislators are meeting with some of the consumer groups, and so, I think I haven't really seen any.
And let
We
me
do, but I think, you know, it's not, we understand that this is an issue, and we're interested in, you know.
And I'll put it this way, I don't want to put you in that spot, because that's not my goal. But you're right, we have done a lot of great work, and what I would invite them to do is respect that process and be part of it, because that's more helpful. Because I think we can get there. And it's more of an invitation. I mean, you've been great, you've come over to the house, and I'm really, really not trying to put you in a tough spot. I'm actually asking for your help, because it's one of the last things I need the most from.
Senator Schmidt?
All right, last thoughts here. I guess, you know, this is the kind of session that all of our work is coming together, it's culminating for an opportunity to do something really, I think, important. And that's to build the momentum on what we've done in the legislature the last couple of years, to focus on your number one, I think, recommendation in here is to fund the fund. And so I hope that we're able to be able to have it both ways and advance the policy discussions, make some headway on some of these other topics that have been raised today. I mean, we get into, you know, dig once policy. I mean, how are we able to, you know, to put our schools in a better position to leverage devices and one-to-one initiatives, in telemedicine, you know, precision agriculture, being able to advance those policy discussions, deregulation, but also focus on the prize here, and that's being able to leverage one-time money for a one-time sunk cost in broadband infrastructure. And so I'm hopeful that, you know, looking at the House, I think last year you introduced a bill of 50 million, Representative, and this year 35. I hope that's not a you know, a harbinger of things to come. But I do hope that we're able to be serious about putting some more money behind this, because I think the fund it's addressing the fundamental challenge we have in Greater Minnesota, and that's that lack of investment capital. And hopefully we can build off of those gains and continue to have a constructive conversation in Minnesota about this very important issue. I think if we do this right, we're able to put our rural communities and partners in a very competitive position moving forward in the next generation. And if we miss this opportunity, we may not have another chance to come back with this. And so I think this year, next year, this is the time to really get serious about doing something and addressing this problem. So hopefully, in 11 short weeks, we're able to take that next step forward.
And Allison, we really appreciate the governor's recommendation, focus on the issue by the governor and the lieutenant governor, and we'll give you the last word. I have one suggestion for some naming, because what you name things is important. So I kind of like the Coalition of the Connected or the Connected Caucus. So there you go. Your free advice from somebody who doesn't do this anymore. All right,
Okay,
Allison.
well, I first, before I give my final remarks, wanted to give a shout out to Hannah for bringing up the impact on schools and libraries, because similar to Representative Krisha's background, my mom is a elementary school librarian. She's now a media specialist because in the past 35 years, her job has changed. She's not just helping students find books, but she's helping them search online, and her job has been fundamentally changed. And so I can resonate with your lobbying for more support for schools and libraries. Well, I think my fellow panelists kind of sum things up nicely. I think for our office, this, you know, trying to get to 100 is really going to be a priority for us this session. The Lieutenant Governor has really taken a lead for our office in, you know, being the face of broadband for us and advocating for this. You know, from her, as she always says, you know, broadband isn't just nice anymore, it's necessary. And I think it's really, like the makeup of this task force, it's really an area where, you know, private providers and local communities and, you know, state folks and federal folks really have an opportunity to collaborate. And so I think that I just want to thank you all for allowing me to participate, but also just want to say that, you know, we'd really like to work with everybody on this issue. And Representative Johnson mentioned a number of big issues that will accompany just this number, but we're really interested in seeing something happen, so we look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for making time to be here, and thank you for all that you're going to do.